Alright, welcome back, people. How you doing? How you doing, people? Beautiful people. Sorry, really sorry that I'm an hour late. Today we'll do 3 hours. Sorry, I had a rough week at my job. So yeah, there's I had to deal with a code that simply was quite tough to solve, and well, yeah, that on top of the English classes. So yeah, I returned and I had to spend 1 hour solving that issue with the code. So there was no way I could start this. Okay, people, but here we are. Here we are. Don't worry. And I already have a plan. We will stream Drakensang Online also on Thursday this week. So since it's the main analysis, we'll do 3 hours today. Today we'll do 3 hours instead of four, and then on Thursday we will compensate that hour and any hour that we might have lost in previous sections. Let's say. Okay, as you can read from the title description, today we will continue analyzing the stat system of the game because truly I still don't understand everything about it. And afterwards we will move on to the economic reward punishment system. So, I have everything ready, but first, before we begin the analysis, let me first remove all of these. Let me remove all of these. All of the offers that they do. Yes, we love you, spend your money, blah 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 blah, etc etc etc. Okay, yeah, pretty much. There we go. Looks like we are getting to the end of these notifications, these stupid notifications. Okay, people. So basically, today, first, I want to see how I proceed. Is there a way so this shit doesn't show anymore? No. Fuck it. Alright. Yeah, this is unbearable. What about this one? Except... Oh, at least I could eliminate that one. These ones go away as you stated. What's this shit? Time of solidarity. Group experience when defeating enemy. Ah, because of the event or something. Shit like that. Oh wait, doesn't matter. First, we have a problem. I don't know how to proceed with the main story because we've already cleared this area, really. Let me consult the world map to see where we should go because, as far as I can tell, last time we finished this whole area. Remember, we are in the northern lands. I presume we just had to arrive there to the Eternal Watch. So, and from there it will send me to the other two and the boss of this zone. As you can see, we're in the Norselands. Last time we arrived here after defeating the final boss of Tegan's Wall. Hey, let's go. Yo, how's it going, Patrick? The other day I remembered you. On TV, there was a quite interesting story I'll tell you. Okay, so let's proceed to the Northlands. Yeah, today I arrived 1 hour late. Today I arrived 1 hour late. I had to do some things, but we'll compensate. Continuing with Drakensang Online on Thursday, the whole 4 hours. So we'll do 3 hours today, and then 4 hours on Thursday. That I usually play the other game. Okay, so let's proceed directly to the next zone. The other day, I remember you sound tired, bro. I heard. Yeah. I am. It's just that I had a rough week at job, and also my chair broke, so my back is a bit damaged because of it. But no. Yeah, I had to deal with some code. I teach English, and I also develop software. I'm a front-end software developer, and I had a code that just didn't work. I had to work hard to finally get it working. That's why I started the stream 1 hour late. So yeah, pretty much. But well. Thanks to those things, now I have the Nintendo Switch too. For example, here the other day I was telling Patrick that I heard a story on TV. I saw a story. I watched a story on TV that reminded me of you precisely. Um, so let's see if we can proceed. It's through there. Let's get our muscles warmed up. I watched a story on TV that reminded me of. There was an Argentine history professor, right? That went to live to Paris, to France, right? He had been living there for 20 years. He told on TV the other day, last Friday after the stream, and the next day I watched it on TV. So he went to teach. He had a doctor. He had a PhD. He was a doctor in history. He knew a lot about history and etc. And well, he went to Paris. He applied for a job and he went to Paris. They took him in 20 years ago. He went to teach over there at Paris back in 2001. Okay, he goes, he teaches for 20 years, nothing wrong, and then last year, basically he made the grave mistake of here. This was the guy, right? See, people, I told you that we would get oriented in no time. I have a terrible news. I believe before the Forge did long ago. The attack was a surprise. The survivors fled to Cogni's mine. The campaign is secret among them. Say such wisdom. Okay, let's go. This is the main quest. Perfect. We have to proceed through here, people. So he goes there. He teaches, and he for 20 years until last year he made the grave mistake of, like every year prior to it, say that testosterone causes biological changes in the male's brain compared to a female's brain. He did that. He made that great mistake, and after 20 years, they told him, no, you cannot teach that. You cannot teach that. There are activists in the classroom, and he was reported, and the authorities told him he cannot say that. He just cannot say that. The teacher. Okay, so why it reminded me of you? Because then he said that this year he moved to Hungary. So, congratulations, the ones that you are acting like a final safe haven for people who just won't accept that kind of pressure. So yeah, pretty much, Patrick. There you go. He's now living in Hungary. He said it was pretty much the only country where he could teach without being disturbed saying those things. Poor guy, I feel bad on one hand because he probably had his life already organized in Paris because he had been teaching there for 20 years. He said he wanted to live there he went there from Argentina 20 years ago, and he told the journalist basically who was interviewing him that he simply was not allowed to say that testosterone causes biological changes in the human brain, in a human male brain. He just couldn't say that, and he had to go. So he's now living there with all of you in Hungary. So yeah, pretty much he's there with you. But so congratulations, you have enough freedom of expression as to let that guy continue with his life. Okay. Okay, so I wanted to tell it to you because they said precisely that he had gone there. Pretty much. Uh, okay. So, people, let's get into the analysis. As I've said, we'll do today 3 hours, and then on Thursday another 4 to compensate in that sense. The topic of analysis. Today we'll get deeper, and they call it a mine. Okay, we got an achievement here. We need to progress through the main story. Yeah, pretty much. We've already done everything. Here we have something. Here we have some. My bow safeguarding mine. They're showing deadly force. We want to help people here. Find out about the threat in the forest, and only take them. Oh well. There we go. There we go. Aha, no, it's like a base. It's the main base here. Bad news, come, warm yourself by the fire. Great traveler from Duria. Do not take offense at the stares of my comments. You see, the last time a stranger visited us with a message, we didn't realize the deceit until our village fell. We must learn caution if we wish to survive the storm. The fate of the Jarl Ironheart. You asked about the whereabouts of our Jarl. Beg pardon, but I cannot give you any information for the time being. Not long ago there were strangers here asking questions about the Jarl, and they turned out to be enemies. Carry out the sales out? No. Okay, let's see what else we have. We have another main quest here. We arrived. So this is the next settlement. Cold as ice, Iron Forest. How can we set the souls of the dead? Yeah, so around. Bring me the shards of their corpses. Perfect. 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 Let's go. Magnificent. So as I was mentioning, the topic of analysis for today, people. I wanted to analyze the stat system in depth because, truth be told, I still don't understand everything that the game has to offer in terms of the stat system. The elemental system, yes. 100%. I learned last time what we could all see that some of the attacks deal extra damage, and then by the end of the stream, I did analyze the abstract complexity of it. The abstract complexity of the stat system. Basically, I mentioned as a bit of a recap as we start that there are different degrees of abstract complexities in terms of the stat system. You can use it only defensively or only offensively, which is a problem at the end of the day when we take into account the abstract complexity. I cited the case of Borderlands. Borderlands, please think of Borderlands, people, just like I mentioned last Tuesday. Let me remove this. And this, I think we have enough room for the quest items. Yes. Basically the case of Borderlands. What happens in Borderlands? You have to deal 4 types of elemental damage, just like in this game. Maybe there are some more types here, but basically that's the idea. You deal 4 types of elemental damage: fire, lightning, poison, and I think it's a slag damage or something like that in Borderlands 2, and it's different in Borderlands 1. Basically, different types of damage. That's a layer of abstract complexity to the stat system, but that is only used offensively, and this is the key of it. Most games only use the resistance system that they create offensively. And you must be thinking, well, that's quite stupid, Eraser, that happens in every game. Well, no, because, for example, we can start seeing the differences in abstract complexity. We can begin to discern, to tell the difference between the effort that developers put into creating one game or another, the specific elemental stat system of it. You'll see. Borderlands 1. Okay, so you have different types of damage. But Let me apply the essence here so we can clear it a bit. Let me remove this. There we go. There we go. Perfect. No, don't. Oh well, there. Perfect. So Borderlands 1 has those 4 different types of damage, and they are used offensively. But what about the resistances of the player that you can see in this game? There you can see that I have them at 3%. In Borderlands 1, for example, you don't have resistances as a player, you just use a shield. See? The elemental system that the developers created for this game is only used offensively. It's only used offensively in that sense. Quite interesting. It's quite interesting. It's quite interesting. It's only used offensively. Then it's not used defensively. You just have your shield. And you just have your shield. Hey, these ones are huge. You just have your shield, and basically, that's pretty much it. You just use that shield to survive attacks in Borderlands 1 and 2, for example. Now, let's analyze the case. Of the elemental system in, I don't know, Diablo 2, Titan Quest, and even, well, Sacred 2 I will leave it as a special case. Basically, in those games, in Diablo 2, Titan Quest, Grim Dawn, etc., the isometric action RPG games, Hellgate London, for example, generally, you have to take advantage of that elemental system. But it's not only used offensively, but also defensively. That's the key. Yeah, I already learned that they are invulnerable when that shield appears. So it's all in isometric action RPG games. The elemental system is used offensively and defensively. That is the case with Drakensang Online as well. Now, there's another third layer. There's a third layer of abstract complexity. Here you can see, for example, the armor, the fire, ice, and the magic poison, etc. But here you can see that is used defensively, which is, let's say, a second layer of abstract complexity. But also, in some games like Sacred 2, alright, that one is out, but I want to do the rest of the quests. Let me do this. This one. Let's do all of these, shall we? Phantom, how's it going, Phantom? How's it going, my man? I progressed through the second area of the game and I arrived at the Norselands. The boss fights in Drakensang Online are quite challenging, huh? They are quite challenging. How's everything, brother? Good. I had a rough week. I was commenting I had a rough week at my job, but I'm alright. Today I'll do only 3 hours, and then on Thursday I will do 4 of Drakensang Online to compensate. Because yeah, I had a rough week, but good. I got the Switch too. In that sense. See, I am tired because of my job, but at least I got it pays off, I guess. Effort and reward, I guess. So yeah, happy for that. I'm still exploring it. So yeah. But well, I got tired because I had a code that basically I teach English on one hand, and then I also develop software, and sometimes it's way too much, and because of that, yeah, I had a code that simply didn't work, and because of that, I had to kind of like start late and those things. But it pays off. It pays off. That's the important thing. That it pays off. uh, Come on, to see you're doing all right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Phantom. Regarding Drakensang, well, I've been analyzing a lot of the aspects. For example, the stat system. The stat system. I have been learning about the stat system with the elemental resistances and everything. I got through the boss fight last time. The third world boss. The third world boss. I think. And basically, I learned to use my abilities and everything. I learned about the skill tree. District has been, another viewer of the channel, has been teaching me about the skill tree. So I'm learning it, and I think I'll be able to make it through the story. I've been told that maybe the the final stretch could be a bit of a grind, but it shouldn't be a problem. I can farm a bit and do it. And I see your skill tree. Yeah, sure. I have one that is a bit fucked up because I didn't know you had to use different presets, and then I have another one. Give me a sec. I'm using fire right now because of the ice enemies. Give me a sec. This one is the fire one, the one that you saw with flying energies, and then I had to use. Yeah, yeah, take your time. I mean, the one that they guided you. The one that they guided me was. Yeah, this one is fucked up because of this one. This one is the frost damage. This one is for frost. As far as I can, if you switch, you must reset your map. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No worries. At this level, it's not that much. So do it later on CT. Okay, 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 okay. Yeah, no, no. You can also wait. You can also wait like 300 seconds. At this level, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. You can progress with this other skill tree, and it's not a problem. And it's not a problem. Uh, as you can see, I have this one is for ice damage that I need for the previous boss, and then I have the other one that is like fire. There, for this one, I just do, instead of the fireball, I do it like this, and pretty much you'll see I do the frost nova and the other one, the frost wind, and then the frost nova, and that boosts the damage, and it kills even if the elemental damage is not in my favor, even if it's not used. Like this, and then there, it automatically kills because of the increased damage. The frost wind apparently, yeah, it improves the frost nova, so as you can see, it's not that much of a problem at this level. Then I bet it will be. Then I bet it will be a problem at higher levels, but pretty much I'm able to progress without paying much attention to that. For now. Of course, for now. Of course, for now. But I bet it will change. No, regarding the rest of the things, I've been paying attention to the elemental system I was precisely mentioning. For example, the fact that in this game the elemental system is used both offensively and defensively. Phantom, I never asked you, Phantom, if you like any other game besides Drakensang Online. If you like any other game besides Drakensang Online. But for example, I established the comparisons with Borderlands that only uses the elemental system offensively. In Borderlands, the player doesn't have elemental resistance. They are just used offensively, the different types of elemental damage in that sense. And also, well, in Diablo, in this one, they are used offensively and defensively because the player also has elemental resistances. In Borderlands, it's always the same. I do, but they are completely different type. No, but which ones? Which ones? Well, if you like to tell me, no worries. But which ones? Like what genre at least? Like for example, I like racing as well. I like racing a lot, like Forza Motorsport, Horizon, and then Nintendo. I like Nintendo. I like Nintendo. Everything I play from all of those. I think the only genres you can see down here, and well, real-time strategy. That one is dead nowadays, but I love it. that one is that one is quite special to me, and then MMORPGs. Well, Counter Strike Go, League of Legends, PUBG. Well, I have on. Well, in the case of MOBAs, I have, for example, an offline version of Counter Strike Go. I don't play it competitively, of course. That's the only two games I play competitively. Let's say, are Star Wars: New Republic and well, I played Heroes of the Storm in that sense, in terms of MOBAs, and yeah, Heroes of the Storm I played a lot in the case of MOBAs. Um, I did the offline MOBA series. I did the offline MOBA series because you cannot play more than one MOBA competitively. I bet we all agree on that, people. Like, imagine being um, playing online a ranked match of League of Legends, then disconnecting, then going to pretty basic games. I know. No, not at all, not at all. Heroes of the Storm was pretty much the same as League of Legends, and for example, uh, Counter Strike Go is like, well, I could. I like more offline of those because, as I said, I generally always grab one online that I like a lot to play, like you do online with those, and then the rest I like reverse engineering the servers and playing them offline against bots, something like that. You cannot grab two MOBAs and just play both of them, play all of them like that. For example, I play Dota 2 now. Well, now I don't play Heroes of the Storm anymore online, but I play Heroes of New Earth, all of those with reverse engineered versions of for example. Or for example, I play Star Wars: New Republic Online as my main MMORPG that I have always loved and did everything there perfectly, officially perfectly, and then I have an offline version of World of Warcraft to play pretty much on my own server to also solo the raids. For example, that's something you just cannot do, and I don't have the time to feed two MMORPGs, and I play World of Warcraft offline in that sense. And I can solo the raids, for example. And I don't know. For example, I would play Drakensang online here, and then Titan Quest, Titan Quest or Diablo, the rest all offline, like one main online game and then the rest like that, pretty much. I think it's a quite good balance because you have them like clearly defined. You have them like perfectly clearly defined. There we go. Now we can change. See it, and it works like a charm. I was mentioning regarding the elemental system, people, precisely that it's it's a feature that we usually take for granted. I also learned, District also told me, to use a book and a staff, and you deal much more damage. I just without a doubt than using the two-handed staff in that sense. Anyways, I have to recover health. Drakensang is completely random game for me. I don't play it so much because I like it, but because of nostalgia and the people I've met from it. I played it for 14 years now, like continuously, or you probably have you probably took kind of like a break that you played it 14 years ago or something like that. It's completely random. Yeah, for me, I was asked to play it. I have had like many breaks. Yeah, but it's kind of like a main game like with me, at least I think with me and Star Wars: The Republic, that I stopped playing back in 2015, and now I return to play it a bit. Every some years we return to it, like the main game in that sense. And then I have a lot of line. That's a great balance. Each year, like 3-4 months break at least. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. But if you play it every year, it's pretty much one of your main games in that sense. Yeah, the thing with online games, I agree with you on that 100%. Is the people you meet online that are amazing. For example, when I returned to Star Wars: The Republic this year, uh, back then, back in 2015, I had my best friend from the US there that we played every day and everything. Then I returned and I said, well, I'll be like a lone wolf, just kill a beat and etc. And no, and I met some good people once again. 10 years later, like once again, an amazing community and situation. So, so yeah. At the end of the day, uh, then I did some group activities together and everything. We killed each other a bit. We played some player versus player combat. That was what I mainly did. And once again, because of the people, you also stay, because that's just the one thing that it's absolutely replaceable in online games. The great people you meet, that is something that you just cannot have offline in that sense. So why have it deactivated? So yeah. That's the main thing. I agree with you that is because of that we stay. I bet it must have happened to you as well. That maybe you say, well, this year I won't return or something like that, and then because of the people that you enjoy being around and spending time with, you basically stay for the company. At least that's what happened. So yeah, pretty much. Phantom. Glad to see that I'm not the only one that that has that effect with online. Uh, in that sense, I was asked to play this one pretty much. After playing Drakensang 1, I had played the tabletop game, not the tabletop, the 2008 release of the tabletop game, Drakensang 1. This one is actually Drakensang 3, and basically, I always like the isometric action RPG genre, like Diablo, Titan Quest, so I did a bit of a change in the schedule, and I said, getting into the abstract complexity of the elemental system, precisely, I was mentioning that Borderlands only uses the elemental system offensively, but Diablo 2, Titan Quest, for example, they also use it defensively, just like Drakensang Online, in which, as you can see, people, as we are exploring the stat system as part of the analysis, you have elemental resistances, and I know anyone watching this over at YouTube, Eraser, that's something basic that every isometric RPG needs to have. Like, why do you even highlight it as a part of the analysis? Well, all right, we're done here. Well, the thing is that, for example, Sacred 2 that we analyzed last year not only has that abstract complexity of using the elemental system defensively with stat resistances. There's another third layer of complexity. Sacred 2, for example, forces you to actively change your resistances. Change your resistances. Yes, it does. It's quite an amazing phenomenon, because you don't have passive resistances provided like constantly. You have to change a specific item, which is called the relic, the elemental relics, and those switch your main active resistance. You can watch any of the parts of the playthroughs of Secret 2 that we did last year, and you'll see that I am actively changing a small um, batch of relics over at the bottom left corner. So it has an extra layer of complexity. Drakensang Online, Diablo 2, Titan Quest, they all have a constant formula for the defensive use of the stat of the elemental resistance system of the game. Now, you must be wondering, is there something beyond that complexity, using it offensively and defensively? Yes, I cited the, let's say, fourth layer of abstract complexity of the elemental system in that sense when I analyze Secret 2, and I will also do it right now in the analysis of this one. But first, let's turn in our quests, people. The Fate of the Jarl. I thank you for providing the intention to help us, stranger, though my verdict is meaningless, as the final word goes to our ancestors, whose hundreds of years of experience makes them far wiser than I. Only they can know if they are good or bad. Bring your battle trophies to our ancestors as sacrificial offerings. You can find them in our village of Olli in the Iron Forest. The ancestors will know the truth and accept your offerings if your intentions are true. Okay, one thing that I will need to highlight in terms of the grandeur category of the analysis, people, the impact of the ambience and the soundtrack and the storyline on the player, is that they are not voice active. That the NPCs are not voice active. The typical solution that both Titan Quest and I don't know Drakensang 1 had for this, because that's expensive for the developers, was to voice at least the first line or something like that. They should have voiced at least the first line of the quest givers. That's one thing that I could say. In terms of the grandeur that they could have done. The other one that would be like my second criticism overall that I found in terms of the core elements of the gameplay. The first one being some of the compositions of the skill tree, in the sense of the abstract complexity. Like, there are no passives for the skill trees, generally. No, just increasing the resistance or damages. Like, creating passive effects. Like, for example, you are attacked and the NPC and the attacking NPC is reflected. I don't know, an on fire state or a poison state, for example. Developers are monkeys. No, that's the phrase of the century for this game. That's the phrase of the century district. It's the same that Flying Energies, Phantom, and the rest said. I think you also said it, Phantom. It's the same phrase as yours, Phantom, and Flying Energies. When the game crashed the other day, the three of you say the same phrase. Flying Energies. Don't hurt the monkeys. They are no flying energies. They are more important. No. You were all waiting. The two of you were waiting there in the bushes, waiting for District to say the phrase, so you could both jump and add insult to injury. You were there like predators, waiting to add insult to injury. That you were lurking there, waiting to jump on that phrase that is legendary. No, don't. They're more important. No. Guys, aren't you afraid? Because Phantom, you stream. Flying Energies, you stream. Anyone watching as a YouTube bot, check out their channels. They are amazing. Aren't you afraid of developers finding your streams and saying, you are the guy who told me that I'm a monkey? I mean, it's more than truth. No more. This has turned into a competition. Who hates the developers more? Aren't you afraid? Flying energies, Phantom, you too, District. I don't know about you. If you stream the game, Flying Energy Phantom. Aren't you too, at least afraid of it that the developers will find you saying, "This is the guy who said that we are monkeys. We will ban you from the game and lose your precious accounts of 15 years, 20 years of hard work." I know, maybe Flying Energies is going to tell me I already retired from the game, bro. No problem. No problem. They can throw my account off a cliff. But at least because of the accumulated wealth, if you want to sell it or something. Lol, nah, I pray to be banned so I can stop. No, my lord. Denise is it's a masochist relationship, Phantom man. It's a masochist relationship. It's like I I picture the situation if I get banned from Star Wars: The Republic, I would lose an account with an armor that took me years to get and those things. I pray to be banned so I can stop lose. But this game creates uh, 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 creates a well a, a pathological relationship with the developers. It's a pathological relationship because at the end of the day it will cause you a damage. uh, and you hope for it to happen. My friend, if they ban my account, I have like 5 or 6 more behind sitting. Well, then it's your main game. Okay, but but I bet they can see where you connect them from with your IP or something. Then it's your main game. Then it's your main game. How is it not going to be your main game, Phantom? Then yeah, that's another thing that I've seen because Umbra, another viewer, also told me that he and his friend also had several accounts. And for example, his friend, he told me that he has 2 PCs. No, no, not 2 PCs. He has kind of like 2 monitors with different windowed instances of this game running, so he can farm. He can multi-farm faster. So I see that it's unfortunately it is, yeah. So that is a pathological relationship. Uh, well, precisely as I was mentioning, another viewer told me that a friend of his had kind of like several instances, several windowed instances of the game running, um, of the game running, uh, so he could multi-farm, for different classes at the same time. So so he would multi-class, he would multi-farm on all of the accounts, and then precisely he had several accounts, and he would, I don't know, sell some of them to other people, then keep farming like that, and like that he made he made money in that sense, which is also in Star Wars: The Republic. People, I can tell it to all of you, District, Flying Energies, Phantom, Patrick, all of you, Umbra. I tell you that is a warranted ban in Star Wars: The Republic. I don't know why here people say that publicly. A lot of you say that publicly. That people sell their accounts. If you say that on any forum or anywhere of Star Wars: The Republic, you get banned. That is, I can assure you that much. It's not that they are perfect. They have mistakes, they have bugs like everyone else. But that is kind of like there was a time There was a time in Star Wars: New Republic in which to get a piece of armor, you needed a 16-man raid group. You can still do the raid. It's basically an upgraded version of the mask you see that I use here as the mascot of the channel. That golden mask. You need a 16-man raid group, fully armored. Bro, legit, on the main city, if you go there are people that spam. I buy your account for 800 euros for a month straight and nothing happened to them. Well, that's one of the huge differences I've noticed. No, that is bannable. In Star Wars: Republic, that you get banned if you do that. That doesn't happen. There was a time in which there were some people offering free credits, and they were also banned. For example, in that sense, no. That's why I don't know why, because that fucks up also the economy of the game. In that sense, I can assure you that in most, let's say, at least any American developed MMORPG, you get banned if you do that. In that sense, you get 100% banned. Like it's like the worst offense possible. I was mentioning that precisely in Star Wars: New Republic, you would there was a raid. You needed 16 people. To do it. Fully geared. In that sense. And it reached a point in which some guilds would charge real money to take the person into the raid and carry the person until the encounter and loot the mask. They would charge, I don't know, $10, $20, something like that per run, per person. And the second they discovered that, I still remember that there was a wave of bans to entire guilds. They didn't give a shit that they were all subscribers that would pay the $15 religiously. They didn't give a flying fuck. They banned them straight up. So that's another one of the things that I've seen as a difference in that sense. In let's say the online, the behavior of managing an online only game. So yeah, pretty much. I love that you were all waiting. District, they were all waiting for you to say the phrase. They were all waiting for you to say the phrase. And flying energy don't hurt the monkeys. Yeah. It's like a competition to see who insults them more. Okay, so you also have backup accounts in case they ban you. They also don't ban you because of that flying energy scaffold. You were waiting there, flying energies. You were waiting there. You were waiting. They are going to say the legendary phrase. No, generally in Argentina, instead of monkey, when you want to use that specific insult, you say macaque. You know why? Because there's a biological difference. You use the word macaque. You have to use the word macaque. Because macaques, which is a variation of the monkey, it is true that yours is a bit more universal. It's a bit more universal, but it is true that monkeys technically are quite intelligent, but macaques are not. Because macaques didn't have the biological mutations of monkeys, and also the most intelligent ones, the other ones, the big ones. I have a better one. Malix. That one is another variation. Phantom. That species I don't know. Here we If you want to use that specific phrase as insult, you have to use macaques in that sense, because the macaques are kind of like among monkeys the most apes. That one, apes. Those are the most intelligent in general. So generally, the big ones, the apes, the gorillas as well, are quite intelligent. Here in Argentina, it's also used as an insult against conservative. Against conservatives, the word gorilla. It's the equivalent of friends in Greek. Oh, well, then you are not insulting them. Then you are not insulting them. Then you, well, that one, see, that one would be much more, that would be much healthier. But here in Argentina, for example, gorilla is used as an insult against conservatives, against us, a bit more conservative people. You know why? Because the gorillas are quite unfriendly to other types of apes. They are quite unfriendly. They don't like them, so they kill other types of apes. So they uh, compete against those of their same species. So in that sense, when you accumulate economic capital, it is in that sense it is used as the equivalent, because you are kind of like, from the perspective of a more leftist individual, you are accumulating capital against the interests of the others of the same species. You haven't heard the word Malacca? No, no, no. I studied a lot of Greek philosophy. If you are interested in Phantom, I know about all of Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, all of them in depth. I know about all of the history of your country very well, and then how it influenced the Italian Roman Empire. In that sense, you had to learn. I had to learn it at law school, and then, um, why you say because it's used in English somehow? It's officially in English. No, I haven't seen it ever. Good accent, by the way. You mean in English or Malacca in Greek? I mean, no, I teach English in that sense. I don't know if you meant Malacca in Greek. I teach. Ah, by the way, bro, it's bad word. XD. You told me it says friend. It was friend. Malay, Malakas is equivalent of friends in Greek. How is it a bad word? XD. You tricked me then. And it's so similar to macaque in English. The scout is dead. Or he died, etc. Here, I'm sick of this quest. I have it since I started playing the game. Guys, anyone knows how to fucking finish this quest? I'm sick of it. I will ask for help in this shit. Not killing any boss, not doing anything. I don't know how to get rid of this damn quest. It's right. It's following me since the beginning of the game. I don't know what I'm pretending to do. I know it says buy a ruby at a shop before before anyone does makes any irony, but I don't know what fucking shop. Presty, go to gems in shop and buy a float ruby with under. Ah, yeah, right. I changed I changed the key bindings. No worries. Here, shops, gems, gems. Here, and the flawed ruby. I want to get rid of this putrid quest. Who had the idea of creating this putrid quest of forcing you to buy this shit? Flawed ruby. Does it have a search bar? No, I'll have to search manually. Flawed ruby, diamond, flawed ruby. There we go. There you are. Yeah, I want to believe it's this one. Oh well, I cannot move it. From the shop. This one. Give it to Jimmy. Let me finish. One sec, people. One sec. I will finish this damn quest that serves no purpose. That serves no purpose, and it's been following me, bothering me, since the beginning of the game. Where was this Jimmy? Now I have to find this. Now I have to find the embassy. Here, Sorfield pastures. Oof, my freaking god. Yeah, no worries. I will pay the money just to get rid of the shitty quest. I don't care. It's a glowing map. Okay. Jimmy. Yeah, maybe I just scam you. 20 Underman, man. I don't know. No, no worries. Don't worry about it. No, it has to be this. Jimmy. No, it is there. It updated. Well, fuck it. It's there. Or unless I don't know what shop he means otherwise, because I've already tried everything. I don't know how to get rid of this shitty quest. The thing is there. It should work. Where is it? Here. Can I finally finish this stupid quest? Give Ruby to Jimmy. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's the right one. No, you didn't scam me. Here, take this chest as a reward. Yeah. Good riddance. Finally, I can believe after 7 days. I can finally... 7 weeks, actually. I can finally get rid of that quest. Did it finish? Yes, thank you, Phantom. No, you didn't scam me. At all. You helped me, thank you. At all. No, it was precisely what I needed. It was precisely what I needed. I finally got rid of that stupid damned quest. Okay. Finally I'm done. Not yet unlocked. If I was there. I know this one is. This one. I was wrong. Okay, going back to the to the monkey's discussion, I guess. So you were saying, so you haven't heard the word Malaka? No, I haven't. In that sense, good accent. I don't know if you told me. By the way, I don't know if you told me English or the specific word in Greek. That it's a bad word, XD. But you said it was friends. You said it was friends. Okay, so am I done here? Looks like we're done in this zone, huh? We'll proceed straight to the next one. See, this is another thing I would, I guess, criticize. That the main quest is not perfectly integrated between zones. Like, for example, now my journal is empty. And honestly, if I for 6 days more or less, I had no idea how to proceed. Now I know that you just move on to the next zone, pretty much, and hope that the main quest continues there. Not this one, but let me consult the world map. And I know the main quest continues there, but it could have been better integrated. For example, now I know that I have to at least somehow get over here, and then to the final boss. It's like one huge dungeon, but it it could have been so easy to add kind of like a final quest. Malacca is the most common name word in Greek. It has many uses, like insult, but at the same time it can be meant in a friendly manner. Ah, that's quite useful. That's quite useful. See, for example, that's more common in English than in Spanish. In Spanish, we have kind of like one specific word for everything. It's quite specific since it was directly derived from that um, use of having the same word mean several things. It's kind of like all country. So you can greet someone like, "What's up, my Malak?" It's so then it must have. Well, for me, it would be quite interesting because in Knights of the Republic 1, you know that the main villain, the main antagonist, is Malak, precisely, without the final A. But you know how that derives, right, people? That's because um, kind of like there are two possibilities. It's like the Afro-American lingo and word, but from Greeks. Indeed. But you know why that is? Because there's two. Like, well, I had to study this for teaching English. Precisely, there's two possibilities of how our civilizations originally developed languages. It can be more derived from tradition and speaking, or through writing. The old countries that in which the language was derived from Latin, from the Roman tradition, they have a lot of more specific words in general. There are exceptions, of course, but generally they have many more words and they are more specific. Like examples of these are French, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese. They, because the Roman Empire kind of like had the obsessive um, the obsessive idea of documenting everything. They documented everything. Everything is written 100%. Even the justice system here, when I had to study as lawyer, it's all written. It's all written. The thing that you see on TV, for example, of a trial being completely spoken, they are derived from either the Germanic tribes or English tribes from northern Europe. In that sense, that's a huge difference that was even more accentuated when the Roman Empire was kind of like alone uh, among all of the Germanic tribes. In that sense, that's why some languages can use a word for several things, and others are kind of like crazy specific. Like you have more, many more words, and they're more specific in their use. In that sense, that's why generally for an English speaker it's a bit tougher to learn, I don't know, Spanish or French or Italian or Portuguese or any language derived directly from the original Roman system when compared to languages that derived from non-written uh, customs, in that sense, that derived from uh, just being spoken. It's also the reason why English has a pronunciation, and for example, in Spanish we don't have pronunciation. The words are spoken just as they are written. The same goes for Italian. The same goes for Portuguese, to different degrees. But yes, for example, in Spanish, we speak the words as we write them, like literally, as they are written, 100%. I think I either made a wrong turn or what, because I don't see any place to get a quest. And I'm a bit lost. This is what I was mentioning. So yeah, I remember that every time I tell this to my students, they are surprised. Like, you pronounce the words as they are written in Spanish, and they say, and I tell them, yeah, indeed, exactly as they are written, and that's always surprising. It leads me to Eternal Watch normal, but this will lead me to the dungeon probably, and I don't have the quest. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Eternal Watch. Yes, this should take me there, but I don't have any more quests. Hang on a second. Let me check the cities first. As I was mentioning in terms of the elemental system, people, there's one final layer of abstract complexity that you can add besides using it offensively and defensively. A topic I always like to talk about, I will cover it again, which is min-maxing stats as a paradigm of the stat system, precisely. And I always cite the case of Diablo 3. Precisely, the last layer of abstract complexity in the framework of the elemental system. As I said, Borderlands, the elemental system exists, it's used offensively. There are games in which they don't even have an elemental system, that is a completely flat abstract complexity, the worst case scenario. Here we don't have any more quests. Let me try this one? No. No. This one? Maybe? I have to go back and find the main quest there before I proceed. Maybe I have to level up a bit for the quests to appear. Has to be the explanation. Oh well, we'll just farm in that zone, in that Eternal Watch zone. I'll clear the dungeon up until the boss. Why is it that the main quest doesn't appear? See, for example, this is one of the things that I've mentioned. Oh well. As I was mentioning, the abstract complexity of the elemental system, we have games in which there's no elemental system, flat abstract complexity, the worst case. Games like Borderlands, in which the elemental system is just used offensively, pretty much. It's just used offensively. Your character doesn't have any resistance at all. And then games in which the elemental system is used defensively and offensively. Sorry, Borderlands is only used offensively. Defensively, no. You just have a shield and pretty much that's it. Games like Sacred Tree, in which on top of that you use the stats, the elemental system offensively and defensively, and you actively change your defenses, which is another layer of abstract complexity because it adds APM, actions per minute. You have to actively change your resistances. But there's one final layer of abstract complexity, which is the case that I always mention. Min-maxing as a paradigm of the stat system. Quite an interesting phenomenon. On top of having an elemental system that is used offensively and defensively to deal damage to monsters and to reduce damage from NPCs, let's think about Diablo 3. Because on top of all of that, it could happen that the proportion of the degree of efficiency in the integration of both the offensive part and the defensive part that exists, because as I've said, it's abstract complexity, games that have both of them, that the proportion isn't properly balanced. I know this sounds quite abstract, stupid, and etc., but you'll see the clear example. Diablo 3. Think about Diablo 3 for a second. In Diablo 3, when was the last time, if you played it of course, you had to think about your defensive stats in general? When was the last time when you played it? Diablo 3, not 2. When you had to think about your defensive stats in general. When was the last time you had to actively manage your elemental resistances? Pretty much never. Pretty much never, at least that's what happened in the 2 playthroughs that I did of it. Never. You know why? Never, because I never played it well. But if you played it, for those of you who played it, I think District had played Diablo Immortal, which is pretty much the same as Diablo 3, just online. With some differences. For example, but if you play Diablo 3, you will notice this. You never have to pay attention at all, about your defensive stats in general. Any resistances, anything. And you're thinking, well, but what's the point of that? What does it change? That shows a huge defect of the abstract complexity of the gameplay mechanics, and specifically of the abstract complexity of the elemental system, if you ask me. Why? Because the reason you don't have to care about your defensive portion of the stat system of the game is because in Diablo 3 you kill so fast that the player is not even given time to develop the defensive portion of the elemental system of the game. I know it's quite abstract, but I've explained it. It's a phenomenon. It's min-maxing as a paradigm of the stat system, and the point is that games should, in my theory, games should find a way always, especially isometric RPG games and MMORPGs, should find a way to minimize min-maxing as a phenomenon. Min-maxing for anyone watching this as a YouTuber, I know most of you know about it because you played a lot of isometric RPG games here, people. But basically, it means dumping all of your stat points on a single stat. For example, I don't know, if you're a mage, you put all of your stat points, your attribute points on intelligence. You just increase your base attack damage, and you don't spend a single point on either health, high damage, low HP. Exactly that phenomenon that Phantom says. All of your points on intelligence, and you don't spend a single point on health or resistances, on any kind of defense. Well, that is a huge defect. For example, Diablo 3 is the greatest, the greatest example of this. In Diablo 3, if you play it, you just increase your damage proportionally because it's affected by a percentage. You just increase that, and you never care about health. For example, in Sacred 2 that I showcased last year, in Sacred 2, one of the reasons I gave it a perfect score was because Sacred 2, you could have the highest, invest all of your attribute points on damage, just like you are describing, Phantom. Exactly like you are describing. All on increasing your base attack damage, or your critical chance, or whatever. Everything, all of your points. If you do that in Sacred 2, you can be killed in one shot by bosses. They found a way to minimize the phenomenon of min-maxing as a paradigm of the stat system. They broke through the paradigm. I know these are quite abstract things that I analyze, but precisely, generally, we are all oblivious to all of these. Generally, we are all oblivious. We ignore all of these aspects. Game reviewers ignore them, and I think it's a huge mistake because they make the abstract complexity of the gameplay mechanics, what I always constantly mentioning. And that abstract complexity, the higher it is, the more difficult it is for the developers to create the game. At the end of the day, I will try to avoid that charge. It's quite powerful. There we go. So, what's the case with Diablo 3? You invest so many points on, or other isometric action RPGs, this defect happens, and most people, of course, ignore it because they are enjoying their game. No problem at all. But then it is quite interesting to rationalize why it ends up being a defect. In Diablo 3, you spend so many points on attack, and you can pretty much finish the main story of the game just increasing your base attack damage. And that degrades the abstract complexity because I'm at the end of the day I'm making the player only care about a single stat. It's a flat abstract complexity. Ah, good. We have a copy of this. Hey, look at this. This is a lot of gold, and I already have a worse version of it. There is a set in here called Mortis set. That's exactly that. It reverts your health values to damage. Well, precisely that. But can you get one-shotted by bosses then? Because of the direct consequence of equipping that? Can you be one-shot, killed in one blow? For each monster you kill, you gain 10% more damage with 500% damage cap. Yeah, but then can you be killed in one shot, or does it somehow not affect your overall health when fighting a boss, specifically a boss fight? Of course. Of course, what? You get killed in one blow, or 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 you what? You get killed in one blow. Of course, you get killed in one blow. Okay, if you get killed in one blow, then it's properly balanced. Because at the end of the day, it's the way they found. It's a quite amazing way. Then I would like to at least see it in action. Maybe any of you can group for a minute. I can see it. The idea, the idea is that the idea. Let's say you have 1 million damage and 3 million HP. This set makes your damage 3 million and your HP 1. Alright, you are killing one blow. Okay. If you're killing one blow, then it's an amazing way of the phenomenon that I'm describing. So yeah, you can die even from one level mob, I guess. Well, if that's the case, then I think it's an amazing solution to the problem that the paradigm of min-maxing as a paradigm of a stat system is. Alright, we get extra experience, good. But also this set has another thing. If it is like that, then yes, it's a good solution. It's a good solution. Because at the end of the day, you are having that risk-reward. How much shit I have here. I need to... Takes you to the desired location. Ah, maybe I had to use this shit. Event full moon. No, it's an event. Out of here. Ah, I also had this shit. Well, damn it. There we go. Ah, it was so much for this. The idea of min-maxing as a paradigm of a stat system, as you get to the Mortis himself come and kill you, usually after you. Okay, now I read. Give me a second. So, Mortis himself comes and kills you, usually after you reach the 500% cap, but sometimes, even when you are stacking, so you don't die from the boss or mob, but from your own set. Okay. After you reach the cap, but sometimes even when you're stacking, so you don't get to the cap of 500 damage from your own set. So it can kill you preemptively before reaching the cap. But you can die from your own set. Well, the point is this one, precisely, people. Yep. Okay. The point is precisely this one, people. The min-maxing as a paradigm of the stat system. In Diablo 3, that I cite as an example, for example, you just increase your base attack damage, and you'll see the problem. You just increase your base attack damage, and you don't get that effect. You keep your health, and you can basically only care about increasing your damage. You don't care about increasing your health your elemental resistance. By the way, I don't mean to spoil this to you, but it's kinda more of a late game thing. No, don't worry. I don't care about spoilers in games or in movies. I don't care. Because one thing is being told about them, about the ending of the movie, and another thing is watching it yourself. So, no worries. No, don't worry, don't worry at all. Anyways, I will analyze it once I see it in action. Anyways, even if I, let's say, repeat myself, because there are so many topics that I analyze when I take a case like a game that you 100% will go back to the different topics analyzed from different angles in that sense. For example, I was mentioning that. As I've said, in Diablo 3, you just increase your base attack damage, and you don't care about any other stats. Like, you don't care about health or resistances or anything like that at all. You just increase your base attack damage, and that's pretty much it. You can beat the main story. Even. Well, here I'm lost. I think I'll return to town. You can beat the main story even just increasing your base attack damage, and that's a problem. Because at the end of the day, it means that the developers couldn't create, couldn't properly balance the defensive portion of the elemental system of the game. Diablo 3 is the perfect example. They couldn't balance the. Let me sell all of this shit, shall we? So I have some room. This one that I have, that I just looted a better version of it. Tome, Orb of Destiny. Oh, that one is quite good. 30 armor. I know armor value, resistance value. Well, let's. Well, it will help me resist the attacks, but much. Arcane gloves, movement speed, armor value. Yeah, these ones are more defensive items. Movement speed. Yeah, but they don't have damage, and maybe a boss can resist if you don't have this one. Damage, blah 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 blah. Health. So it's a perfect example. Diablo 3 poor game. I always use that one, but well, it's a case. Pretty much. The idea. This one is 100, right? It's 100. Yeah. But it deals more damage even if it's great quality. The rest. All right, but the other one has some sloth. Let's have it. The idea is that you can pretty much just finish the main story entirely of Diablo 3 by just increasing your base attack damage, and that's a problem. And that's a problem, believe it or not, because you are making the player just care about. This one I have it. I need to learn how to extract gems from the items, I guess. So you just care about one stat, and it's a flat complexity. So in that sense, it's much more difficult for the developers to create a game, especially in the isometric action RPG genre, in which the player is forced to take care of different stats. As I was saying, in Sacred 2, that's why I highly recommend you all play Sacred 2. In Sacred 2, bosses can one-hit kill you. If you don't invest on armor, on, I don't know, health, or whatever. So min-maxing is a real problem for a lot of isometric action RPG games. So what you are describing, that you increase your DPS to up to 500%, but then you get killed in one blow, it's an amazing way of doing it. But if maybe I find in my analysis of the game throughout all of the topics that I'm analyzing, I find an armor that I don't know, I just increase damage. If by just increasing damage, I can get through the main story without spending a single point on health, then that's a problem. That's a problem because at the end of the day, the developers are destroying. They are reducing the amount of things the player has to take care of to be efficient in combat. Diablo 3 does that. Just increase your damage, crit chance, and since there are percentages, you can finish the main story even on hard difficulty first run without caring about your health, your armor. I don't even know if there's armor there. I don't remember armor or health or resistances at all. Like, and the second you do that, well, you're destroying potentially what a complex game could be. You see that at the end of the day it was a quite abstract topic, but it made sense. It made a lot of sense. So yeah. Getting into the next topic of analysis that I wanted to at least begin mentioning today, people, the economic reward punishment system of Drakensang Online. When you get killed, like what happened to me in the previous 2 boss fights, there are 2 possibilities, or 3. You revive right there with the objects that you see me that I have in my inventory. This spirit guard, the spirit guards, those things, the spirit stone there, all those things. You can revive kind of like in place. Then you can revive in town, or then you can pay undermanned, which is in-game money, currency, that you can pay $30 to get or whatever, or you loot it from the game world, and revive as well. Pretty much correct. That's the economic reward punishment system, the introduction that I wanted to do. The basics. You get killed, and what do you lose when you get killed? When we got killed during the boss fights, what did we lose? You either lose the items or the undermanned, correct? That's the economic, the basic portion of the economic punishment. On top of that, of course, as it is implicit in most games, in most RPG games, you also lose the time you spent getting to the boss in the dungeon, fighting the boss, and failing miserably like a novice. Indeed, the cost of opportunity. It's an economic concept. The cost of opportunity. The time you lost trying to beat the boss, basically. The cost of opportunity. So, those are standard things that we may expect from any game when we get killed. Of course, the worst case scenario is not having an economic punishment system. It's absolutely the worst. Getting killed and automatically reviving in place without any punishment is the worst possible case. Now, the only thing you lose if you die and go back is the essences. Back in the day when you died and went back to your city, your equipment was broken and you must pay gold to fix it. Well, that's the system of World of Warcraft. That's the classic system, and gold was way harder to gain. Indeed. That's the classic system of World of Warcraft, Phantom. Precisely, inherited from World of Warcraft, your equipment gets damaged. In Star Wars The Republic is the same. It's still that system. And the repair costs have gone up. So they kept that system. The repair cost. So you can add multi-layered systems like what you're describing, Phantom, which is the interesting part of the reward economic punishment system that role-playing games can implement. The classic example that you cited, see, even if it was an abstract topic, it could Phantom guessed it even before I told the different solutions. One is that forcing the player to pay a cost to repair his gear. Second, the most extreme one, the system of Ultima Online, the first MMORPG ever created, you would lose all things you had on your character permanently. You lost them, like real time. The explorer died, and his items, his armor, they were all lost, left behind at the very same spot he died. Pretty much. That's a quite brutal system. It existed. Nowadays it's not common, but it existed. The most brutal economic punishment system that we could see, pretty much. Okay. Another punishment is a system of Sacred 2, quite amazing. Sacred 2 had an internal clock system in which you would get much better loot as you would stay alive. The more you stayed alive, sorry, the more you stayed alive, the better loot you would get. Correct? Alright, I got some talent points, no matter. And when you died, on top of the cost of opportunity, on top of the... you didn't get damaged gear. On top of the potions that you had to use, you had... you can watch Sacred 2. People, you can see it, because it's quite abstract. It has an internal clock that makes the loot better permanently as you stay alive. And if you die, it resets the internal clock and you get shitty loot. Eventually, if you die a lot continuously, it would create a negative proportion of the of your income, of your economic income. You would loot such shitty gear that the potions that you have to replace would cost more than the gear that you would loot, and that creates a negative economic proportion of the tendency in that sense. So you would lose money instead of getting it if you get killed constantly. Okay, great, quite ingenious system. Getting your gear degraded. The classic case of Dark Souls, in which you lose your souls and you have to go back to the spot and recover them, is not as brutal. You would just lose money. In that sense, the souls are money. Let's replace souls with money, and that's the case. But well, the point is that there should always be a multi-layered economic system. Why? You may ask. There has to be a multi-layered economic system for the game to be addictive. And when we say addictive, really, when the professional gaming press or I don't know, a Steam review or a Metacritic review, they say that a game is addictive or not, they never get to why. They just say this game is addictive and this one is not. This one is good, this one is not. Okay, but the thing is that you should always get to ask why. We should always get to ask why that happens. It's not that it's addictive or not. It's that it properly, objectively creates dopamine in your brain as you play the game. It's that it properly creates a psychological sense of progression. And you can see by now that it's important. It creates a psychological sense of progression, people. The efficiency in creating a psychological sense of progression in the player's mind. That is directly a responsibility of the topic that I was introducing you to some seconds ago, the economic reward punishment system. Imagine a game in which you get killed, you play terribly, you get killed, and nothing happens. Such game exists. The worst case, and at the same time the best example of this, are Lego games, since they are designed for kids, so they don't frustrate, so they don't get frustrated. In Lego games, when you die, basically nothing happens. Basically nothing happens. You revive at the same spot, and health is just a meaningless container, a meaningless metric to measure your performance at playing the game. Because you get killed and nothing happens. You lose some of the bricks, some of the stools or something like that, the pieces of the bricks in that sense. But it's minimal as well. You can recover it during the same level, and there's no time limit, anything at all. So they don't have a proper economic reward punishment system because they're made for kids. But it's a great example to have it like that. So even if for kids they may work, then they are terrible games because of that. Because the proportion of the efficiency of the reward punishment system in creating a psychological sense of progression is the worst ever. You get killed and nothing happens. Nothing happens at all. So, getting into isometric action RPG games and, let's say, real games in that sense. Though, for example, I love Lego Star Wars The Clone Wars. I think it was quite well done. And some more, basically the Star Wars ones are pretty well done, anyways, because they were the originals. But they have that limitation. In that sense, what happens in real games? Let's say you get killed, and you should lose. The cost of opportunity that I was mentioning previously, the amount of time you spend trying to kill the boss and you failed miserably, for example. Then you lose money. In the case of Drakensang Online, we have the thing that you lose either the item to revive in place, or the undermant, the in-game currency to revive a town or whatever. You revive a town, you have to do the dungeon again. That's also another positive aspect. Because it increases the value of putting in the effort to loot the item or whatever. Okay. But then, the idea is that the developers of this game could have implemented a multi-layered system besides that. And I don't mean the extreme solution of the Ultima Online of losing all of your gear, because that would be way too much because of how grindy this game is. But the Ultima Online also was grindy. I don't think that it's just that it was the beginnings, so the beginnings of the MMORPG genre, so they just didn't care about being brutal with the players. But the idea is that a multi-layered system is always the most effective at creating the at creating a highly efficient psychological sense of progression in the player's mind. Let's see the optimal situation. You have a game in which you lose your gear or lose your money and etc. It forces you to keep track of the average money you get to have always a positive economic proportion, to always make more money than what you lose when you get killed, basically. And that creates objectivity. That is an objective process. This is the most interesting part, people. When reviewers say that everything is a matter of opinion, that some games are good or bad depending on opinion, the reality is that it's not like that. That objectively, in the metaphysical plane of time and space, in those two variants, imagine all metaphysical entities, we exist in time and space. We can agree that that is objectively true. It's not a matter of mental perception. Time and space, in that plane, psychologically, in the player's brain, the dopamine, the chemical reaction exists. It exists objectively. This is the boss, but I don't know. But I don't have the quest. If anyone could help me where to get the quest for this boss. because I did all of the quests. I could try doing the boss just for just for the fun of it, but I don't know why I don't get any more quests. I probably have to go to a different area or some shit like that. Well, no matter. The point is that the chemical reaction in our brain of the dopamine being created, is subjective. It either happens or doesn't happen. You get what I mean? In the metaphysical plane of time and space, in your brain of the metaphysical entity that is you, human being, the chemical reaction happened or not. See, that is objective. It's not a matter of opinion, of mental perception. And why does it happen? Because the game had a correct proportion of the psychological sense of progression, because it had a proper economic reward punishment system. You see that, for example, in Star Wars: The Republic, I see that I have to farm to get to gear rating 344 to get to I don't know, to get to do a raid in which only in that raid I can get a specific piece of gear. I don't know, or that when I get killed in Secret 2, I lost a lot of loot that I could have gotten, and I'm losing money, and etc. There it is, the quest. Now it appeared. I had to level up. See, I was right, people. I was right. So it's tied to the level. Okay. Alright. I must know what happens inside the Eternal Watch. Those you refer to as the cultists. What did you do there? Did all of the cultists head south after the attack on Olbai, or do still remain? Would you like to investigate this? Damn it! Fate of the Jar. The Eternal Watch of God Rejalnir, though it has been the prison of the last priest, Sigismar Frostclaw. For quite some time now, while there, seek out the Eternal Eyes, whose vigilance has been flagging. They know what will happen. Stolen Secrets, this is the one that... So, you are limited by your level, the quests that you can get. That's quite brutal. Oh well. So, what's the point? That is objective, people. That's the key. That's the key that I always mention. There we go. Why do I share something? Why have something affair, so something in life? Frozen form, whatever it is. Ah, yeah, I had to level up, okay. So this is terrible. Like, why am I forced to level up? If I'm a reckless individual, I should be able to be allowed to 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 get into the dungeon and get killed because of myself being an idiot. It should be allowed. We should be allowed to do so. Like this, it forces you to farm a bit. I had to guess. See, those things are not explained. They should be explained. It should just a small notice saying you must be level 33 at least to start this quest. I don't know. It says it in the dungeon, but not as a part of the story quest. That's the thing. You have to. But I was able to enter the dungeon. Ah, maybe not the last one. I don't know. Well, whatever, people. There we go. Now it's working. Let's go. Anyways, it was in this area. I did the right thing without knowing. I had to guess. I shouldn't have to guess, but still. So, what's the point? What I always mention, people, as the core principle of our reviews, it is objective. It is objective, people. A game is not good or bad depending on personal taste, on mental perception of the individual, of the doxa, precisely, like Aristotle used to say. It's not because of the doxa of the mental perception. It is because of how particles objectively integrate, the degree of efficiency in the integration of those particles in the metaphysical plane of time and space is subjective. If Lego Star Wars, if in any Lego game, when you get killed, you don't lose anything, then the reward punishment system of that game is flawed at the end of the day. Because the abstract complexity in the creation of that system is much lower than Dark Souls, Diablo 2, etc. Any game in which you have to keep track of the economic system to progress. The abstract complexity is objectively lower. That's the thing. You die and you don't lose anything. You don't have to care about anything in any Lego game, for example. I cite that one as an extreme example, just so the difference is evident to anyone watching this as a YouTube poll. So there you have it. But see, that is not a matter of mental perception. It's a matter of how particles arrange themselves in the metaphysical plane of time and space. The degree of efficiency, if in a game you get killed and you lose money, like in Dark Souls, the economic reward punishment system has a higher abstract complexity. The player has to pay attention to that, has to take care of the different stats in the game, and etc. And because of that, because the abstract complexity is higher in that reward punishment system, the psychological sense of progression is objectively superior in Dark Souls compared to Lego Star Wars. See, that is something that instinctively no one would argue, because it's an exaggeration in that sense. I cited kind of like the worst example with another one that is quite good. Lego Star Wars is quite terrible, while in Dark Souls is one of the best. That's why Dark Souls is so addictive for a lot of people. But reviewers don't get to those objective reasons. They just say, well, the game is addictive or not. But they don't get as to why. Why objectively they reach that conclusion. That's the interesting part of well, it's a scholastic method, as I said. People, it's precisely the opposite of a relativist analysis. It's a realist analysis, because I do not care. It's not that I do not care. I decide to put the emphasis of the importance of the review on the objective metaphysical plane of time and space rather than my mental perception of it, because I could tell you that Lego Star Wars or whatever, or Fortnite. I always cite that one. As you can see, I don't like viral games in general. Fortnite is the best game of all time. Fortnite is the best game of all time. And I don't tell you why. And I tell you, well, but it looks like PUBG, it looks like PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, but I can construct stuff. Imagine that. And for me, it's the best game of all time. For me, it's the best one. When I say for me, or in my opinion, or whatever, I'm saying in my, what people try to say unconsciously most of the time is in my mental perception of metaphysical reality. The problem is that nowadays we have, since, well, the story that I always tell you about, people, it must be fed up, since Immanuel Kant, a Prussian philosopher, unified mental perception of metaphysical reality with the definition of metaphysical reality itself, contrary to what happened precisely in ancient Greece, Rome, and medieval times, that they were separated. One thing was objective metaphysical reality, and then mental perception. Why is it? Why is it though? Is it because you like it as a game of, or because of the market? No, no, no. I don't think that Fortnite is a big game full time. Please, that's a sacrilege. Or Lego Star Wars. I just cited it as an example, Phantom. If I tell you, if I, it's, no, I think the best game full time, as you can read from the title, from the description down here in my panels, it's a Star Wars: The Old Republic, for example. No, I think Fortnite is one of the biggest pieces of shit I've ever seen. But I can give you objective reasons as to why the abstract complexity of the level design is flat. Compare it to, I don't know, the Water Temple in The Legend of Zelda. What's, in your opinion, the best game then? I think it's I would say Star Wars: The Old Republic. Star Wars: The Old Republic. Why? Because it's the most versatile I've seen. It has 8 story quests. It has the length of 8 story quests. Combining, well, if you watch any of my streams on Thursdays, it's the one that I play. It's free to play. You can try it. It has 8 story quests. It has the classic BioWare style conversation system. So it works as eight RPGs in one, single player RPGs. It also has the MMORPG portion with objectives based player versus player combat, and it has, of course, the classic raids of World of Warcraft, all combined with the Dungeons and Dragons 4.0 stat system. But here I have objective reasons as to justify my mental perception of metaphysical reality in that sense. I do not say that my perception, that my opinion, that Star Wars: The Republic is equal to metaphysical reality. I say that I give reasons as to justify why it may be close in its description, my mental perception, my opinion, to metaphysical, objective metaphysical reality. For example, that's the idea. Generally, that's the fallacy of the so-called fallacy of relativism. That that two mental perceptions, two opinions, have equal metaphysical value, and that's a fallacy. Because, as I was saying, imagine if a person tells you, Phantom, Fortnite is the best game of all time. You would probably laugh. That would be your first reaction. But getting into the interesting part, or maybe because you're extremely polite, or I would do the same probably as well, because you're extremely polite or kind or whatever, you would say, well, no, you would grab your head. Well, regardless of the reaction you may have, maybe you are extremely polite and you don't say anything. But inside of your mind, you will think that the person, there's something wrong. That there's something wrong in his perception of reality. For example, imagine that. Well, that would be your reaction. I can see. Well, but maybe the person in that moment will tell you, well, but I think it's the best game of all time. I think it. For me it is. For me it is. And that's the point where you reach a point of no return generally. Why? Because of the fact that Immanuel Kant unified mental perception with metaphysical reality in the 1700s. In a lot of cases, I do the opposite. I am the exact opposite. I, following Thomas Aquinas and Aristotle, I do the opposite. I try to adapt to find the mental perception that most closely describes an objective metaphysical reality that is external to our minds, that I think it can be reached. That's the opposite process. So the person tells you Fortnite is the best game of all time, and you will probably grab your head, laugh, or if you are extremely kind and polite, you would just say, "Oh well, it's okay, okay." Nice opinion, my friend, or whatever, and it's what we would all probably do, and it's perfectly fine. The thing is, that then in your mind you do think that his opinion does not reflect reality, unavoidably. Or am I wrong? That is what happens? You would think that if a person says Fortnite is the best game of all time, or I don't know, Lego Star Wars or whatever, Lego The Lord of the Rings, you would think, well, his the unconscious process your mind will do is, after you laugh or something, then alone, not in front of a person or whatever. I never mean be uncourteous or whatever at all. No, people. You know that I am probably among the most respectful people you'll find online, if you've stayed long enough. You would think, well, he's not giving me objective reasons first, and second, that his opinion, I think, LOL is the best game of all time. What am I? No, you have a lot of. I can see why you can have those reasons, at least, because MOBAs, what I could argue against it is that MOBAs simplified the APM requirement of the real-time strategy genre because they derive from it. They derive from a mod of Warcraft 3 that the unit variety in a real-time strategy game is higher and you have to control several units at the same time, which are different. I would argue that against it, I guess, but it is true that because of the amount of champions, the amount of playable characters that you have, mastering that game can take endless time. Because I played also Heroes of the Storm and I think it's quite good. In that sense, I can see why. I can see why. I have arguments against it, but I at least can see why the abstract complexity of that game captured your interest. In the case of Fortnite, for example, it has level design hazards. For example, League of Legends has the mercenaries that you have to beat to get money, and then you use that money to buy more stuff. In Fortnite, the the gear is dropped on the map at that very same moment, so there's no economic system. Here, the game that you are describing does have an economic system. I think, for example, in general, Defense of the Ancients 2 has a higher abstract complexity than League of Legends. Uh, in that sense, uh, because it has more combinations to deal with, and the roles are, I, I, I would say, a bit more defined, and those things, and etc. But still, if you compare it to something like Fortnite doesn't have even an economic system. Consider that. Phantom. It doesn't even have an economic system. You are dropped on the map like a fucking animal, and you loot the items on the spot. You don't have to care about money. You just drop one item and grab another one. If there were, for example, shops on the map that you could conquer with money that you could loot and then invest it, well, or maybe that a portion of the terrain is unlocked only after you reach a certain amount of money, I could understand it. But at least League of Legends compared to Fortnite, the abstract complexity is higher. Another thing is that since it derives from the RTS genre, League of Legends demands high APM, high actions per minute. Not as high as the real-time strategy genre, it is true. Something like Age of Empires 2, on even the new artificial intelligence of Microsoft that they implemented, can be tough. I had trouble consistently beating it at the beginning. The updated version we're talking about, people, not the original release. It requires high APM. The same goes for Warcraft 3 and those. But after real-time strategy, the MOBA genre is one that requires high APM, and the abstract complexity is high. So no. I'm not saying that as I said, that my opinion equals metaphysical reality. What I say is that I try to close the gap as much as possible. You will be the judge of it, people watching the streams or thinking that I'm an idiot. Anyone watching this over at YouTube as well. Closing the gap of our mental perception together as we analyze the games to describe metaphysical reality with the arguments precisely. But if I just tell you Fortnite is the same full time without giving you arguments, it's just you will probably laugh as you said, or grab your head in anguish, thinking, as I said politely, that the person maybe um, well, he hasn't played a lot of games, and his perception, unconsciously, his perception of reality is far away from describing it. I tried it to be as close as possible with the arguments, as I've said, with the reasons, as I've said. But going back to the other one, precisely, why is it though? Is it because you like it as a game, or because of the marketing, etc.? The marketing, I debated that point as well. in a lot of cases, the oh no, this one is done. What else do we have? Check out the eternal library. Is it in this map? Yeah, there it is. Why is it? Is it because of that process that I explained previously? Well, first of all, the replayability, I would say, as one of the main factors. I would cite as one of the main factors